To defend his party's floundering witch hunts against President Biden, Kevin McCarthy boldly claims that their party's star witness being federally indicted as an international arms trafficker and communist Chinese operative actually strengthens the Republican Party's case. Intrigued? Then click that like, subscribe, and the alert bell, and enjoy the video. You know, as I've said before, it's really interesting to examine Kevin McCarthy because on paper, he occupies one of the most prestigious roles in federal government, as Speaker of the House of Representatives. He's the leader of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. He's second in the line of presidential succession. He's nominally one of the most powerful people in the country and should be one of the most respected. And yet, this man is so profoundly pathetic. His speakership began on a pathetic note with, 12, 13, or 14 attempts at claiming the speakership, which was like an historic number. It took him that many attempts. He has the thankless job of trying to manage a chaotic caucus, between moderate Republicans and then whatever the hell the Freedom Caucus is, an authoritarian cult. A cult so deranged, as a matter of fact, that they recently kicked out Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's too establishment. That's Kevin McCarthy's situation. Now, as I've said, I have no sympathy for Kevin McCarthy because this is a situation of his own making. He and McConnell and other, establishment Republicans or more moderate, sane Republicans who cynically attempted to use the MAGA movement and use Donald Trump, they made their bed. I have no sympathy for them whatsoever. And during Kevin McCarthy's 7-month speakership, he hasn't gotten much accomplished beyond, messaging bills which will die in the Senate. And instead, Republicans have attempted to use their majority to initiate a series of political witch hunts against President Biden and the Biden family because they know, again, they can't compete on policy. They can't compete on record. They have to go for the dirty politics game. And again and again and again, Republicans have stepped on rakes. James Comer in the House Oversight Committee, Jim Jordan in the House Judiciary Committee, they've repeatedly talked a big game about finally having the smoking gun against President Biden and the Biden crime family, and they failed to deliver. Recently, their most recent claim, I suppose, is that they had a star witness, a whistleblower, a very credible whistleblower, who was going to blow the lid off the Biden crime family. And then when people were like, okay, well, where is he? Where is the star witness? Where is this whistleblower? They were like, well, we can't find him. And it turns out the reason they couldn't find him is because he's a fugitive. It's Gal Luft. Gal Luft, who was recently federally indicted for being an international arms trafficker, violating U.S. sanctions, and being an operative for communist China to influence government policy here in the United States. Not exactly a credible whistleblower. And in this clip, I want you to hear what happens when Kevin McCarthy is asked by a reporter, like, hey, this fugitive indicted person, he's your star witness. What's this do for your case? And let's hear what Kevin McCarthy has to say.
What did you say about the informant who was indicted by the Justice Department on the suspected trafficking issue that Comer has promoted as an informant in his Biden investigation? Does that undermine the case at all?
No, it wouldn't undermine the case because if you extrapolate that even further, the justice
doesn't that weaken your case? No, it strengthens it. He does a full Porky Pig. That's all, folks, because he's struggling to spin this. Let's continue.
The department went after him. Well, Hunter Biden received more money from the same foreign CEFC company that this informant did, much more. So it would only make the case stronger that the government really didn't look into Hunter Biden.
So now Kevin McCarthy is trying to say, actually, listen, the fact that he's federally indicted, that Gal Luft is federally indicted, the fact that he fled U.S. authorities, the fact that he was arrested in Cyprus back in February and then skipped bail to avoid extradition back to the United States because he's been under indictment by a grand jury since November of last year. This isn't new. People who are like, see, the Biden Justice Department, they pounced on this dude in order to keep him silent about Hunter Biden. No. He's been under federal indictment by the Department of Justice for 9 months. The only reason we didn't know about it is because it was under seal. But the court filings make it abundantly clear. A grand jury saw the evidence from the Department of Justice and recommended indictments against Gal Luft, and that's why he's been on the run all this time. Now, first things first, a couple of things. Number one, Gal Luft has provided no evidence to anybody because he actually made a public video that was given, I think, to Fox News or the New York Post a couple of weeks ago. in which it was like a 14-minute video in which he said, listen, the indictment's a sham. I'm being persecuted because of I guess it was 2 days ago, not 2 weeks ago, because I have information about Joe and Jim and Hunter Biden. But he never actually produced the evidence in the video. That'd be a good time to do it, right? Especially if you're being targeted by the Justice Department. Well, get the information out there. But he didn't do it because he doesn't have any. The Republican Party, who said that they got information from this whistleblower, have not produced any evidence from Gal Luft to indict President Biden or Hunter Biden, morally or otherwise. There's no evidence, right? Or if there is evidence, for whatever reason, they're sitting on it, even though it would be advantageous of them to reveal it. But furthermore, let's think of the logic there. So Kevin McCarthy saying, look, Hunter Biden is really, really bad because as a private citizen, he received money from a Chinese nonprofit. And our credible star witness also received money from that Chinese nonprofit. So the very thing that makes Hunter Biden a private citizen morally reprehensible and incredible, like not credible, in the eyes of the Republicans, well, those are the very same things that their witness, that they say is very credible, has done. Like they just arbitrarily just shift the rationale, right? Hunter Biden has done these terrible things. That's why he's a bad person. Our star witness, who we're trusting, who we think is really credible, he's also done really terrible things. He's offered no evidence for the claims that he's made against President Biden and Hunter Biden, but it doesn't matter. He offers no justification for the rationale there. But the other thing is, if you actually read the indictment, again, the indictment is based on evidence presented to a grand jury of U.S. citizens. It's not it's not President Biden or the Justice Department arbitrarily making a decision. They have to persuade a grand jury. And the Justice Department did 9 months ago that Gal Luft is bad, that he was a communist Chinese operative. If you read, it's a 58-page unsealed federal indictment, but the introduction, makes it abundantly clear. Gal Luft, the defendant, a dual U.S.-Israeli citizen, engaged in multiple international criminal schemes, including a scheme to act within the United States to advance the interests of the People's Republic of China as agents of China-based principles without registering as foreign agents as required by U.S. law. Specifically, Luft agreed with others to and did covertly recruit and pay on behalf of principals based in China a former high-ranking U.S. government official, including while the former official was an advisor to the then president-elect, Donald Trump, to publicly support certain policies with respect to China without Luft or the former official filing a registration statement as an agent of a foreign principal with the Attorney General of the United States. So they have evidence that Luft was paying a former Trump advisor to try to influence the Trump administration in a way that would benefit communist China. That's evidence. They actually can make the case, thus the indictment. That's a world of separation between Gal Luft and Hunter Biden. So at the end of the day, I'll also add here, Gal Luft also brokered and attempted to broker multiple illicit weapons deals in violation of the Arms Export Control Act, and subsequently lied to U.S. law enforcement agents about that conduct. And 3, this is the third major piece of illicit behavior, broker and attempt to broker deals for Iranian oil without authorization in violation of U.S. sanctions against Iran and the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, and subsequently lied to U.S. law enforcement about that conduct. They actually have evidence for these claims, thus the indictment. Thus meaning, whether you like it or not, there's worlds apart between Gal Luft and Hunter Biden, and if Republicans want to make the case that Hunter Biden's worse, they actually need to produce evidence to that effect. But Republicans generally suck at producing evidence for their claims, so don't hold your breath.